Ford Blue Cruise hands-free highway driving takes the work out of being behind the wheel, allowing you to relax and reconnect, while also staying in control. Enjoy the drive in Blue Cruise-enabled vehicles like the F-150, Explorer, and Mustang Mach-E. Available feature on equipped vehicles. Terms apply. Does not replace safe driving. See Ford.com/BlueCruise for more details.
This episode brought to you by MGM Plus. From executive producer Stephen King and an executive producer of Frog comes The Institute, a chilling new original series from MGM Plus. Kidnapped and trapped in a sinister facility, gifted teen Luke Ellis must join other children to fight for their survival. Starring Emmy Award winner Mary Louise Parker, Ben Barnes, and introducing Joe Freeman. The Institute. Watch now on MGM Plus. New episodes streaming Sundays.
Hey listeners, Outward is going on a little summer break. Brian and Jules and I are taking some time to touch grass, so we're pressing pause on the podcast for the rest of the season, but we're dropping something very special in your feed, a queer pop deep dive from Hit Parade with Chris Molanphy, Slate's show about the music and moments that climbed the charts and shaped the culture. So stay gay, stay hydrated, and we'll see you in the fall.
Welcome back to Hit Parade, a podcast of pop chart history from Slate magazine about the hits from coast to coast. I'm Chris Molanphy, chart analyst, pop critic, and writer of Slate's Why Is This Song Number One series. On our last episode, we walked through the varied history of LGBTQ hitmakers on the charts, from Little Richard to Lesley Gore, Dusty Springfield to Sylvester. We focused on rock and soul's early years, from the birth of rock and roll to the peak of disco, when gay hitmakers were defining the culture. We're now going to take a twirl through a selection of chart toppers who managed to reach number one both in and out of pop's closet. Thus far, the LGBTQ performers we've covered from rock's first few decades were rarely out of the closet. The majority came out years after the peak of their fame, or not at all. For example, to reiterate, both Lesley Gore and Billy Preston did score number one hits, but neither was out at the time. Conversely, the artists who were out didn't actually top the Hot 100 or the pop album chart, from Jobriath to Sylvester. Also complicating matters is that bisexual artists were, to quote one Janis Joplin historian, often heterosexualized. That was certainly the case with Joplin during her lifetime. She was regarded as a straight, free love hippie. Her lesbian relationships largely kept secret, except to her friends. Even if Janis had been out, her only chart topper, Me and Bobby McGee, topped the Hot 100 in 1971, after she was gone. So, as I walk through some LGBTQ acts who scored greater pop success toward the end of the 20th century and into the 21st, we will try to reckon with each artist's public persona and presentation. Let's start with the Hot 100. And right off the bat, we have to address this chart-topping gentleman. David Bowie. in the January 22nd, 1972 issue of England's Melody Maker magazine, said, quote, "I'm gay and always have been, even when I was David Jones," unquote. At the time, Bowie was newly married and had just fathered his first child. Nonetheless, this self-outing was a big deal. Bowie was adopted as a gay icon in both Britain and America. In theory, that would make Bowie's 1975 American #1 hit, Fame, the first Hot 100 chart topper by an out performer.
No tomorrow. Fame, what you need, you have to borrow.
The thing is, Bowie kept adding, let's say, nuance to his sexual identity as the years went by. In a 1976 interview with famed journalist Cameron Crowe, Bowie declared, a bit cynically, quote, "It's true, I am bisexual, but I can't deny that I've used that fact very well. I suppose it's the best thing that ever happened to me," unquote. In other words, Bowie made his queerness sound like a matter of image and career. 7 years after that, Bowie was interviewed by Rolling Stone's Kurt Loder, just weeks before he would return to #1 on the Hot 100 with Let's Dance. And in the Loder interview, Bowie walked back his status even further, saying that his public declaration of bisexuality was, quote, "the biggest mistake I ever made," and adding, quote, "I was always a closet heterosexual," unquote. Still, as late as 2002, Bowie was saying, simultaneously, that he did consider himself bisexual, but that he, quote, "had no inclination to hold any banners," unquote. So, how are we to historicize Fame and Let's Dance, Bowie's 2 U.S. chart toppers? To this day, gay historians still regard Bowie's 1972 declaration as a signal moment for LGBTQ acceptance in pop music, and that Bowie's many queer-accented songs, from Queen Bitch to Boys Keep Swinging, have challenged the public about how gender was represented. Critic and journalist Barry Walters, writing an appreciation of Bowie for Billboard magazine just after his 2016 death, eloquently said of the 1972 revelation, quote, "He used his outsider stance not simply to be breathtaking, he also built bridges," unquote. Walters joins the chorus of queer historians who credit Bowie for making history. So, with a small asterisk, let's say David Bowie's 2 Hot 100 chart toppers qualify as the first #1s by an artist who publicly came out, however that declaration actually reflected his life. A similar confusion hangs over Queen's Freddie Mercury, who also walked back his self-outing. I suppose British fanzines were the place in the early 70s for rock stars making statements about their sexual identity. Because, like Bowie, Mercury, in a 1974 issue of New Musical Express, told a journalist, quote, "I'm gay as a daffodil, my dear," unquote. The thing is, when that interview quip occurred, Queen was still a rock band on the rise. They'd only had one medium-sized British hit, 7 Seas of Rye, and even less US chart presence. On both sides of the Atlantic, Queen was still months away from their first big hit, Killer Queen.
She's a killer queen, gunpowder gelatine, dynamite with a laser beam, guaranteed to blow your mind.
After that 1974 NME interview, Mercury never directly addressed his sexuality again. And in later years, he asked the few journalists he trusted not to mention his boyfriends. By the time Queen scored their transatlantic #1 album, The Game, in 1980, the band was a fixture on American rock radio. They had released record covers and music videos bedecked with scantily clad women, and they generally did not address Mercury's hiding in plain sight orientation. The Game generated 2 #1 hits on the Hot 100 in 1980. The rockabilly revival bop Crazy Little Thing Called Love, and the aforementioned dance funk jam that led off our show, Another One Bites the Dust. So, could Freddie Mercury have been considered out when he scored these 1980 #1s? Not by any reasonable standard, and certainly not in the US media. Even in the UK, Mercury hid his identity from the relentless Fleet Street press. He spent his final years denying his HIV-positive status until days before he died of AIDS in 1991 at age 45. Just months later, when Queen's operatic classic Bohemian Rhapsody was featured in the 1992 movie Wayne's World and became a hit all over again, peaking in America at #2. It was received by the public as a final eulogy for a rock frontman who gave plenty of hints through his art, but struggled just the same. Throughout the 70s and 80s, this continued to be the reality for many LGBTQ chart toppers. Though few had stories quite as dramatic as Freddie Mercury's, their personal revelations came years after they topped the Hot 100. For example, Barry Manilow. He scored 3 #1s at his pop peak in the 70s. Mandy, I Write the Songs, and Looks Like We Made It.
Looks like we made it. Left each other on the way to another love.
Even though Manilow had famously broken his career in the early 70s playing piano behind his friend Bette Midler at gay bathhouses, Manilow didn't finally come out until the mid-2010s, after he wed his longtime partner Gary Keefe following the legalization of same-sex marriage. Debbie Harry of Blondie was long linked romantically to her bandmate Chris Stein. They are still friends and continue to co-lead the band. However, Harry came out as bisexual in the mid-2010s, revealing several relationships with women in her youth. These relationships predated Blondie's 4 number-1 hits, from 1979's Heart of Glass through 1981's Rapture. But again, like Manilow, Harry only made her status public decades later. In the 80s, Boy George of Culture Club is a unique case. The Brit-born George O'Dowd was already, indisputably, a gender nonconforming icon when the band broke through in America in 1982 and 83. In the videos for hits like Do You Really Want to Hurt Me and I'll Tumble For Ya, Boy George performed in heavy makeup, long braids, and effeminate outfits. He did obfuscate his sexuality at first, claiming to be bisexual. George, who was gay, later admitted he was softening the revelation in the press. Nonetheless, when Culture Club scored their sole #1 on the Hot 100 in early 1984, Karma Chameleon, Boy George was about as out as a pop star could be for the time. A week after Chameleon dropped out of #1, Culture Club won Best New Artist at the Grammy Awards, and George offered this cheeky closer to his speech, thanking America for its embrace with a wink and a blown kiss.
Thank you, America. You've got taste, style, and you know a good drag queen when you see one.
George would fully reveal he was gay, to absolutely no one's surprise, in a 1995 memoir. More cautious was Neil Tennant, lead singer of the British synth-pop duo Pet Shop Boys. Like Culture Club, they scored just one #1 hit in America, West End Girls, in 1986. Though gay themes echoed throughout Pet Shop Boys' hits virtually from the start, like the searching It's a Sin or the queer-coded love ballad Rent, Tennant remained quiet about his personal life and would not officially come out as gay until 1994. This was well after Pet Shop Boys had dropped copious hints, including closing their 1993 album Very with a cover of the Village People's Go West. Arguably, it took until the 90s for some unquestionably out-of-the-closet performers to score #1s on the Hot 100 while out. Coincidentally, 2 such singles went to #1 in early 1992 back-to-back. British pop band Right Said Fred, led by brothers Fred and Richard Fairbrass, went to #1 in February of '92 with I'm Too Sexy. By that time, Richard, their lead singer, was already out as bisexual, and the song and video were unabashedly gay-coded and fabulous.
I'm too sexy for your party, too sexy for your party. No way I'm disco dancing. I'm a model, you know what I mean. And I do my little turn on the catwalk. Yeah, on the catwalk.
1 week before Right Said Fred hit #1, in late January 1992, the song occupying the Hot 100's penthouse was a duet between George Michael and Elton John, a live cover of Elton's classic 1974 ballad, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. What was interesting about that #1 hit was that, at the time, Elton John was fully out. As we'll discuss later, a mid-70s revelation had damaged his career for years. By the 90s, however, he had declared himself as gay. But George Michael, in 1992, was not yet out. So, though it was not remarked upon at the time, this was a fascinating partial victory in the history of out-performers topping the charts, Elton John back-to-back with Richard Fairbrass. The fact that it was not remarkable was a kind of progress. 5 years later, in October 1997, Elton John, now paired with his future husband David Furnish, was #1 again, with his homage to the deceased Princess Diana, another remake of one of his 70s hits, Candle in the Wind.
And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in.
So, that's the 20th century history of out LGBTQ artists at #1 on the Hot 100. But what about albums? As it turned out, topping that chart would prove to be an even greater challenge for out queer artists than the songs chart had been. We'll be back with that momentarily.
Managing multiple business locations shouldn't require 3 different platforms, 5 logins, and a spreadsheet that only one person knows how to use. It's time you consolidate all of your needs into one easy-to-use platform you and your clients actually enjoy using. With Boulevard. Boulevard is the #1 client experience platform built specifically for appointment-based self-care businesses. Top beauty and wellness brands choose Boulevard to empower their teams and grow their business. Whether it's online bookings, payments, appointment reminders, or client profiles, Boulevard makes every interaction seamless, personal, and professional. No more no-shows, scheduling headaches, or chaos behind the counter, just smoother operations and happier clients. Plus, Boulevard can help elevate your marketing, generate custom reports, manage memberships, and take your business as far as you want to go. Right now, Boulevard is offering new customers 10% off your first year subscription when you go to joinblvd.com/outward and book a demo. That's joinblvd.com/outward. Book a demo and get 10% off your first year subscription. Join blvd.com/outward today.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.
Back in 2012, I was writing a column on the charts for the Village Voice called 100 and Single. For my column, I did a historical study on the Billboard 200 album chart to determine whether any queer artists had topped the chart while publicly out. My examination was inspired by the 2012 release of a new Adam Lambert album, which had a chance to be the first such album.
If I wanted to leave, I would have left by now, but you're the only one that knows me better than I know myself.
Here's what I learned. With all the caveats I've already articulated in this episode about how slippery it is to determine when an LGBTQ artist is out, arguably no artist from the rock era through 2010 had scored a #1 album while out. Remarkably, some best-selling artists who were publicly out did not score #1 LPs. Two prominent examples, both lesbians who peaked in the 1990s, are Melissa Etheridge, whose best-selling and self-revealing 1993 album, Yes I Am, sold 6 million copies, but only got as high on the charts as number 15. And K.D. Lang, the country pop chanteuse who came out publicly in 1992, the same year she issued her top-selling CD, Ingenue, which went double platinum but peaked at number 18. That leaves a handful of acts who did top the chart closeted, and, in many cases, their status was the subject of much speculation. Let's run them down in chronological order, starting with this legendary piano troubadour / Captain Fantastic.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time. The touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh, no, I'm a rocket man.
Elton John scored an epic string of chart-topping albums in the 70s. To be exact, 7 LPs in a row, from 1972's Honky Chateau through 1975's Rock of the Westies, topped the Billboard LP chart. Then, as we discussed in an earlier Hit Parade episode, in an interview for a 1976 Rolling Stone cover story, Elton revealed he was bisexual, and his chart fortunes changed practically overnight. His next album, Blue Moves, peaked at number 3, his first to miss the #1 spot in 4 years.
Why can't we talk it over? Oh, it seems to me that sorry seems to be the hardest word.
And he spent the late 70s in the pop wilderness, out of the top 10 altogether. Coming out, at least the first time, decimated Elton John's career. John did stage a solid chart comeback in the 80s. He married and then divorced a woman, then came out fully as a gay man in 1988. But Elton has never again occupied the album chart's penthouse, with one semi-exception.
You should never take more than you give in the circle of life.
The 1994 soundtrack to The Lion King, Elton penned just over half of the songs on this chart-topping CD, but he was the credited performer on only 3 of them. So Elton gets partial credit for a #1 album after coming out. But none of his single artist studio LPs has since topped the Billboard 200. Elton's coming out story in the 70s remains a cautionary tale. Around the same time Elton John scored his last #1 LP in 1975, this sensitive soul also topped the album chart.
Inventing lovers on the phone who called to say come dance with me and murmured vague obscenity.
At 17 was the tender hit about feeling like a teenage outcast that momentarily made Janis Ian a chart-topping star. The single reached #3 in September of 75, and 1 week later, Janis Ian's album, Between the Lines, hit #1. Ian's album chart victory came nearly 2 decades before she came out publicly as a lesbian. 5 years after Ian's chart topper, as we discussed earlier, Queen, fronted by the mostly closeted Freddie Mercury, topped the album chart with their hit-packed LP, The Game. Flash ahead 5 more years. 1985 saw the first of 2 #1 albums for the only artist on this list to top the chart both with a group and solo. The group, actually a duo, came first.
I'm never gonna dance again. Guilty feet have got no rhythm. Though it's easy to pretend. I know you're not a fool.
Wham! The pop duo of George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley broke in America at the end of 1984. By the winter of 85, as their smash ballad Careless Whisper rose to #1, their LP Make It Big was also atop the album chart. It made George Michael a global star. And after the duo amicably broke up in 1986, George went on to a solo career that was even more massive. Released in 1987, Faith, George Michael's solo debut, topped the album chart at the start of 1988 and stayed there a dozen weeks, spinning off 6 top 5 singles, including 4 #1s. Like so many artists on this list of LGBTQ hitmakers, George Michael's sexual identity may seem obvious in retrospect, but at the height of his fame, he was a major straight-identified sex symbol, appearing in his I Want Your Sex video with women in varying states of undress. Remarkably, as late as the mid-90s, George Michael was still not public about his sexuality, until, finally, in 1998, a police sting in Beverly Hills, California, snared Michael for solicitation in a public park men's room. Michael was outed under less than flattering circumstances. To his credit, Michael leaned into the tabloid exposure, giving interviews in which he laughed off the revelation. He even recorded a single, Outside, with lyrical references to alfresco lovemaking and a music video featuring Michael dancing in a men's loo in a police uniform. After George Michael's solo #1, the next artist on our list was a member of a boy band, Jonathan Knight of New Kids on the Block. One of two Knights in the hugely successful late 80s boy band, along with his brother Jordan Knight, Jonathan sang on the 1989 chart-topping album Hangin' Tough and its 1990 follow-up smash Step by Step. New Kids' inability to return to the penthouse after 1990 was entirely related to the aging of their fan base, rather than issues over any member's sexuality. Fun fact, Jonathan Knight's public coming out happened in 2011 and was an accidental and reportedly friendly revelation by his fellow late 80s teen pop star Tiffany. Knight and Tiffany had dated back in the day. One year after New Kids' last #1 album Step by Step, an alternative rock band went to #1 with a frontman who was hard to decipher.
That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my religion.
Michael Stipe of REM has always been as cryptic as the lyrics he wrote for the Athens, Georgia band, which makes it hard to say when exactly the singer-songwriter came out. He was pretty clearly not out in 1991 when the group scored its first #1, Out of Time, the album containing the smash Losing My Religion that made REM one of the biggest bands in America. Then, around the time of REM's second #1 album, 1994's Monster, Stipe referred to himself as, quote, an equal opportunity lech in an interview about his sexuality. So, could we say he was out circa Monster? Songs on the album like Tongue and Crush with Eyeliner certainly suggested that Stipe was feeling himself. It's debatable, but in any case, after years of speculation, Michael Stipe fully vocalized his sexuality in a 2001 Time magazine interview, revealing that he was in a relationship of several years with a man. For the record, Stipe prefers the term queer to describe himself, rather than gay or bisexual, as, quote, queer describes something that's more inclusive of the gray areas, unquote. About half a decade after REM's last #1 album, this Latin crossover star was a phenomenon. Ricky Martin, whose career exploded in 1999 as he went from established Spanish-language radio fixture to cross-cultural megastar, was also dogged by the most intense sexual identity speculation of any act in millennial pop. His self-titled English-language debut album featuring the blockbuster hit Livin' La Vida Loca, Debuted at #1 with 661,000 copies, still the best sales week for a Latin pop star in history. But Martin spent his peak fame years dodging questions about his sexuality, lobbed by everyone from Rolling Stone magazine to Barbara Walters. Finally, in 2010, long past his explosive Anglo-pop moment, Martin finally ended the speculation, issuing a statement on his website as, quote, "a fortunate homosexual man, blessed to be who I am," unquote. The revelation didn't hurt Ricky Martin's career much. Though he never returned to #1, he kept scoring top 20 albums well into the 2010s. At the turn of the millennium, another boy band with a closeted gay member topped the charts with positively gargantuan sales. Lance Bass was one of 5 vocalists in NSYNC in 2000, when the Orlando boy band sold 2.4 million copies of their CD, No Strings Attached, in a single week, the highest week of album sales in history to that point. They nearly repeated the feat in 2001, topping the charts with 1.7 million opening week copies of their follow-up, Celebrity. And then the millennial boy band moment was over, as Justin Timberlake and other members of NSYNC went solo. For his part, Lance Bass pivoted toward an acting career and, in 2006, ended years of rabid media speculation when he came out as gay in a People magazine cover story. The last 2 chart toppers on our list reached #1 on the Billboard 200 the same year, 2003. First, the aforementioned R&B great Luther Vandross hit #1 just a couple of years before his untimely passing, with his heartfelt album Dance with My Father.
If I could get another chance, another walk, another dance with him, I'd play a song that would never.
And 2003 American Idol runner-up Clay Aiken. His debut album, Measure of a Man, hit #1 with blockbuster sales to his army of Claymates. Aiken would later break his female fans' hearts when he came out in 2008. This list of 10 chart-topping queer artists, Elton John, Janis Ian, Freddie Mercury, George Michael, Jonathan Knight of the New Kids, Michael Stipe of R.E.M., Ricky Martin, Lance Bass of NSYNC, Luther Vandross, and Clay Aiken, span genres and pop eras. They are very diverse. The only thing they all have in common is none was fully out when they scored a #1 album. As successful as they all were, the pressure, spoken or unspoken, to remain closeted must have been intense. When I asked readers of my column if I'd missed anybody, the only partial counterexamples they offered were 2 artists who'd come out as bisexual and scored #1 albums. Billie Joe Armstrong of Green Day, whose album American Idiot topped the Billboard 200 in 2004.
I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's only me and I walk alone.
And Lady Gaga, who reached #1 in 2011 with her album Born This Way. Still, in both cases, readers agreed with me that these artists, however brave they were, labored under the heterosexualization I discussed around Janis Joplin earlier. Their identities had been flattened by the music industry into straight presenting performers, and their chart-topping success was not regarded as overtly boundary-breaking. That's what made Adam Lambert, at the turn of the 2010s, so unique. He foreshadowed a much freer future for the millennial and Zoomer generations. We'll be right back.
Prime delivery is fast. How fast are we talking? We're talking puzzle toys and lickpad delivered so fast you can get this puppy under control fast. We're talking chew toys at your door without really waiting fast. Pee pads, cooling mat, and peg hammer fast and fast. And there's training TREATS faster than you can say sit fast. And now we can all relax and order these matching hoodies to get cozy and cute fast. Fast, free delivery. It's on Prime.
Jack Daniels is proudly served in fine establishments, questionable joints, and everywhere in between. So, no matter where you go, in every bar, you'll always know someone by name.
Jack.
Jack and Coke?
Shot of Jack. Jack Daniels, please. Right away.
That's what makes Jack, Jack.
Please drink responsibly. Responsibility.org. Jack Daniels and Old No. 7 are registered trademarks. Copyright 2025 Jack Daniels. Tennessee whiskey. 40% alcohol by volume. 80 proof.
Though Adam Lambert had been out of the closet in his personal life since his teenage years, while he was a finalist on the 2009 edition of American Idol, he was not publicly out, but with, you might say, a wink. Here's an excerpt of a segment introducing Lambert's childhood backstory to the TV audience.
Welcome back to the show. Adam, back in the day, ever wondered as a kid? Take a look.
I was born January 29th, 1982.
When Adam was little, he was interested in everything. He loved books, he loved music.
Sports, not so much.
I just loved playing dress-up, not soccer.
Literally weeks after the American Idol season ended, Lambert was the runner-up, coming in second to winner Chris Allen. Lambert gave an interview for a Rolling Stone cover story officially coming out. Again, it was not a well-kept secret, but it was still remarkable for an American Idol finalist to come out even before releasing a debut album. Recall that 2003 Idol runner-up Clay Aiken came out years after his Idol moment. Lambert's debut CD, For Your Entertainment, arrived 6 months later and reached an impressive #3 on the Billboard 200. It also spawned a top 10 hit on the Hot 100, What Do You Want From Me? As impressive as this was, Lambert's 2012 follow-up album would be the true test of his fan base, as he would no longer be a focus of the Idol promotional machine. In the studio, Lambert pulled out all the stops for his sophomore album, which he would title Trespassing. He worked with star producers and pop luminaries, from Bruno Mars and Pharrell Williams to Nile Rodgers, who played his trademark disco guitar on Lambert's queer-themed dance jam, Shady. And the fans showed up. When Lambert dropped Trespassing in May of 2012, it opened to first-week sales of 77,000 copies. Fairly strong for an American Idol competitor's second album, but more important, strong enough to debut on the Billboard 200 at number 1. That made Adam Lambert, unofficially, the first unquestionably out gay artist with a number 1 album in history, a milestone for LGBTQ artistry on the charts. Though Lambert would score only one more top 10 album, 2015's The Original High, and he never landed another song in the pop top 40, he went on to an enduring and very successful career. To the general public, Lambert is probably best known now for his years fronting Rock Hall of Famers Queen as a replacement vocalist for their late singer, Freddie Mercury. The group, which tours as Queen plus Adam Lambert, has played dozens of dates worldwide since 2014. And for gay rights activists and allies, the spectacle of one big-voiced queer singer subbing in for the legendary Mercury has poetic, cross-generational resonance. As for Lambert's solo chart achievement in 2012, with hindsight, it can now be seen as a dividing line in LGBTQ chart acceptance. After Trespassing, numerous out queer artists in a range of genres topped the Billboard 200. In 2015, for example, best-selling a cappella singing troupe Pentatonics, two of whose members, Mitch Grassi and Scott Hoyling, are gay, hit number 1 with their self-titled 4th album. In 2016, former Odd Future member and R&B hip-hop iconoclast Frank Ocean topped the album chart with his critically hailed sophomore album, Blonde. Ocean had revealed his sexual orientation in an open letter in 2012, a move that was hailed in the hip-hop community for its honesty. Pitchfork magazine later named Ocean's Blonde album the greatest LP of the 2010s. In 2017, singer Halsey, who is openly bisexual, went to number 1 with her hit-packed album, Hopeless Fountain Kingdom. And in 2019, another former Odd Future member, rapper and singer Tyler, the Creator, who has been deliberately sexually ambiguous but open about his own queer experiences and is now regarded as a gay icon, scored his first of several number 1 albums with his best-selling LP, Igor. Speaking of Halsey, she is one of several openly LGBTQ artists to also top the Billboard Hot 100 songs chart in the last decade. She did so twice, as a guest on the Chainsmokers' Closer and on her own solo hit, Without Me. Miley Cyrus came out as queer. Her term of art is gender fluid, as early as her teen years, which did not prevent her from scoring #1 singles, including 2013's Wrecking Ball. A decade later, long after she was out publicly, Cyrus went back to #1 with the smash Flowers.
I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours.
And of course, as we discussed in depth in a prior episode of Hit Parade, Lil Nas X, the subject of my recent book, Old Town Road, came out of the closet while that song was in the middle of its record-setting 19-week run at #1 in 2019. What is even more remarkable is that Lil Nas X came back to #1 in 2021 with 2 more singles that were even more boldly queer. His flamenco-fied electropop jam, Montero, Call Me By Your Name.
Call me when you want, call me when you need, call me in the morning, I'll be on the way. Call me when you want, call me when you need, call me out by your name, I'll be on the way.
And his trap pop collaboration with fellow rapper-singer Jack Harlow, Industry Baby.
I told you long ago on the road, I got what they waiting for. Don't run from nothing, dog, get your soul.
Then, in 2022, the #1 spot on the Hot 100 hosted a pair of landmark singles back-to-back. In October of that year, a laconic song by the bisexual singer-guitarist Steve Lacy called Bad Habit, a romantic confessional about a crush object of any gender, rose to #1.
I bite my tongue, it's a bad habit. Kinda mad that I didn't take a stab at it. Thought you would.
Billed in the music press as a song about queer or even gender non-binary longing, Steve Lacy's indie R&B jam, fueled by millions of open-hearted TikTok videos, was an unlikely chart topper. Then, after 3 weeks on top, Bad Habit was replaced at #1 by an even more historic song, the first #1 by both a gender non-binary artist and a trans artist. Sam Smith had been scoring hits since the mid-2010s as an openly gay artist. In 2017, they came out as genderqueer and, within a couple of years, switched to they-them pronouns. For their 2022 single, Smith teamed up with Kim Petras, a trans woman born in Cologne, Germany, and based in Los Angeles, who had scored several club hits. Together, Smith and Petras recorded a track that celebrated transgressive love and sexual freedom. They called it Unholy.
Daddy, daddy, if you wanna drop the attic, give me love, give me Fendi, my Balenciaga daddy, you gonna need to bag it up.
These back-to-back #1s, Bad Habit and Unholy, 2 wildly different songs that were both proudly queer, showed how far the charts, pop listeners, and indeed America itself had traveled. The Zillennial generation is unabashed in sharing everything: their gender presentation, their sexual orientation, their pronouns. And neither recording artists nor the pop audience seem limited by this. Straight artists like Harry Styles and Bad Bunny are presenting themselves as more sexually fluid and wearing gender nonconforming costumes on stage. And as for queer performers, it is now not only possible for chart-topping musicians to come out, it is mostly expected. Just last year, Billie Eilish released her first openly queer single, an ode to same-sex infatuation called Lunch. It reached #5 on the Hot 100.
I could eat that girl for lunch, yeah, she dances on my tongue.
And Chappell Roan became a megastar in 2024, with a string of hits openly discussing her same-sex romantic adventures, like Hot to Go, Casual, and her big-voiced power ballad kiss-off to a would-be female lover who is in denial, Good Luck Babe, a number 4 Hot 100 hit. To be sure, progress has come in fits and starts over the decades. In 2025, it feels as if the LGBTQ+ community, particularly trans Americans, are under assault both legally and societally more than ever before. But a tour through these decades of queer chart history, from Johnny Ray and Little Richard in the 1950s to Kim Petras and Chappell Roan in the 2020s, shows the rainbow arc of history bending ever upward. Speaking just for myself, it gives me reason to hope. Speaking of hopeful moments in 2025, and Chappell Roan, she took part in one particularly joyful event in Los Angeles back in March. Roan was the featured guest at Sir Elton John's AIDS Foundation Academy Award Party, his annual post-Oscars fundraising soiree. Roan performed an hour-long set of her own material at the event. And when Elton joined her on stage, she had very kind words for him. Quote, "I would just like to say thank you, Elton. You have sacrificed so much for the queer community, and you made it so I could be the artist I could be." Unquote. And then they broke into one of Chappell's biggest hits, maybe her most Elton-like hit, the flamboyant Pink Pony Club.
That you wanted me to stay, but I can't ignore the crazy visions of me in LA. I heard that there's a special place where boys and girls can all be queens every single day.
Like Adam Lambert fronting Queen, or Elton's previous mentorship of a young George Michael, this was a joyous summit of generations of LGBTQ excellence. Elton John had seen both the worst and the best of what living his truth could mean for his career, his body of work, and his audience of millions. And Chappell Roan was living out loud, with purpose, in a pop world her queer forebears had helped create. An optimist might say that, even as the world continued to burn, this was a moment of pride. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Hit Parade. Our show was written, edited, and narrated by Chris Molanphy. That's me. My producer is Kevin Bendis. Kevin also produced the latest installment of our monthly Hit Parade The Bridge shows, which are available exclusively to Slate Plus members. In our latest Bridge episode, I welcome author and LGBTQ cultural scholar Barry Walters, who conducted the last major interview with dance floor icon Sylvester, and goes deeper on what made him so pivotal to pop and dance music as well as queer identity. To sign up for Slate Plus and hear not only The Bridge but all our shows the day they drop, visit slate.com/hitparadepluss. Our supervising producer is Joel Meyer, and the executive producer of Slate Podcasts is Mia Lobel. Check out their roster of shows at slate.com/podcasts. You can subscribe to Hit Parade wherever you get your podcasts, in addition to finding it in the Slate Culture feed. If you're subscribing on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us while you're there. It helps other listeners find the show. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to leading the Hit Parade back your way. Until then, keep on marching on the one. I'm Chris Molanphy.
Always on my mind, and Mama, every Saturday, Saturday, I can hear your seven draw 1,000 miles away. Sing it!
Mom and Dad, the school supplies you buy me this year will mostly end up in my mouth. Maybe shop low prices for school at Amazon, so I don't eat up all your money. Just something to chew on. Amazon. Spend less, smile more.